So in this episode, we're going to build a spline jig. Now, if you have any plans of making picture frames, a spline jig is going to come in very handy. This jig will allow you to add splines to the corners of your picture frames, which will greatly strengthen those corners. So with that said, let's get dirty. So we're going to be able to use the rip fence that we already have to make this spline jig. So I have one piece cut at the exact width of this rip fence. I have one piece cut that goes right up to the top of that piece. And then I have this 9.5-inch piece that I'm going to mount to the outside of it, as well as these two pieces that I've cut at 45-degree angles to mount onto that. That'll allow the picture frame to sit in there perfectly, and we can just guide it through the table saw to get a spline cut. All right, so first I'm going to attach the back piece, and I'm going to do that by adding just a little bit of glue and putting it together with my fingers. Then what I want to do is I want to clamp this together, and then I'll be able to put some pilot holes and countersinks in there. Okay, so now I have my combination square set at 3/8 of an inch. This way I can make marks, what'll put me right in the center of the top piece here for putting my screws in. Now I'm going to put 2 in, and then that way I'll be able to release the clamps and put 2 more on the outside. All right, so now that I have those 2 screws in, I'm going to go ahead and make a couple more marks on the outside to put 2 more in. All right, so I have my outside piece done. Now I need to attach this 9.5-inch piece. Now I'm going to do it kind of the same method. I'm going to put glue on here, just a nice bead, and then I'm going to attach it the way I want it, and then put the clamps on. Okay, now I'm going to use my combination square, and I'm going to take a measurement from the top here to this piece right here and set that. Now with that measurement, I can add 3/8 of an inch and make a couple marks here and hit that right in the center. All right, so I got that all laid out. Now I can make my 2 marks and put 2 1 5/8-inch screws in. So I'm going to pilot hole and countersink. All right, now that I have 2 of the screws in, I can remove my clamps, and I'll make 2 more marks on the outsides where the clamps were that I couldn't get to. All right, pilot hole those 2 and countersink. All right, so it's working pretty good. A little tight, but I think a little paste wax will fix that. All right, so now we've got to add our 2 45-degree angles where the frame's going to sit. Now, in order to do that, I've already made the mark here, but we need a mark right in the center, and then we're going to line these up to come right to that mark. So first we're going to put a little glue on the first piece, and then we're going to use the help of our combination square, the 45-degree side, and we're just going to use it to line it up to that center mark that we drew, and then we're going to put our piece right up to that mark. So once we have that all lined up, we need to throw a clamp on there. Now we're going to do the same exact thing for the other side. So I've got myself a little 90-degree cut here, and I'm just going to slide it in and see if it lines up, which it does perfectly. So that is pretty good. All right, with the clamps in position, I'm going to hit it with some 2-inch brad nails, and then do the same for the other side. All right, for my next step, I'm going to use some playing cards. Now what I want is I want to get exactly where these 2 playing cards touch at the corners. That's where I need to make a mark. All right, now that I have that mark, I'm going to use a 3/8-inch. Okay, now that I have that mark, I'm going to use a 3/8-inch drill bit and drill a hole right there. Okay, so now that I have that hole, that's for the 3/8-inch doweling. I'm going to insert the doweling, and I've made a mark about a 1/2 inch above where it comes out of the hole. So that's where I need to cut the doweling. All right, so I took it over to the sander and I kind of rounded off the end there, but I'm going to put just a little bit of glue down here at the bottom and insert it back into the hole. Okay, we're just about done. I'm going to take it over to my chop saw, and I want to cut off just a little bit of this corner here. Okay, so before I start sanding, I'm just going to dry run it here. It's still a little sticky. Let's try some paste wax, see if we can fix that. All right, got a little paste wax. Oh yeah, much better. So the paste wax was the cure-all for that one. You can see it moves very nicely. All right, so I'm going to hit it with some sandpaper while it's drying, and I'll be right back. Okay, so while I was sanding it, I kind of figured I want to do one more thing to it. I want to add a little handle right here for pushing. So I grabbed this 3/4 inch dowel and a 3/4 inch Forstner bit, and I'm going to cut a hole right here in the center and just put a little handle for me to help push it through. So I'm going to put the handle right in the middle, about 1 inch down. I'll insert the dowel, put my hand on it, cut it, how about right about here. So I didn't drill the hole all the way through, so that should work. Yeah, that works. So I'm going to cut it to fit my hand. I'm going to glue it in there, and I'll be right back. All right, I rounded it off on the sander. So let's get some glue on here and get it in the hole. All right, so I'm thinking it's about time to test this monster out. So I got my blade height set, and I got it where I want it. So I'm going to lock that down and run this through and see what happens. All right, so I got a good cut here. Now, you may have been wondering, what's the story with the playing cards? Well, now I'm going to show you. So I can use these playing cards to make micro adjustments. So I'm thinking I'm going to go with 5. So I'm going to throw 5 on, right here on the side, just like this, because remember we put the dowel to stop them. And then that way I can clamp it down again. And I've added some space in there. Okay, so I've increased the size of my spline just by adding 5 playing cards. And I need a little bit more, so I'm going to add 5 more. I've got a 1/4 inch spline there. So there we go. It's a perfect fit. 10 playing cards from my original cut is exactly a 1/4 inch spline. So it works exactly the way I want it to. Now, if I had a frame, I would have put 10 and a clamp on this side also. So you can see where the playing cards can help you make those micro adjustments that you need to make in order to get your spline to fit just perfectly. Okay, so there's our spline jig. So if you have any plans of making picture frames, this is going to come in super handy for adding splines onto those corners. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Until next time, keep it safe.